Pop psychologist Keith Ablow, a regular on Fox News, is back with more insight into how President Barack Obama's brain works. This time in an editorial about why he feels that Barack Obama is not doing enough to stop both Ebola and possibly ISIS fighters from getting inside of the United States and wreaking havoc. If you have to vomit during this, feel free to pause the video, come back afterward. But this is what Keith Ablow said. I believe the president may literally believe we should suffer along with less fortunate nations. And if he does, that is a very dangerous psychological stance from which to confront Ebola. Let me say this plainly as a psychiatrist who has studied this president only from a distance. In order for President Obama to keep thinking of himself as the leader of the world, and not just the free world, it may be that our boundaries must remain porous, allowing illegal immigrants and potentially even diseases to flow through them. The toll of having a president who seems to see America as having no particular manifest destiny may be seen in the spread of ISIS abroad. And it could be seen, God forbid, in not mounting a sufficient immune defense here at home to Ebola. Saying so, even at the risk of offending some or many, is the first step here taken to make it not so.
I've got one comment on this. If Ebola converts to radical Islam, we are fucked.
Well, then Ebola will leave its prayer rugs in the southern border, and we'll know it's here. No, this guy is psychotic, and at this point, he might have crossed the threshold where even Fox News is a little embarrassed of him. Well, we haven't seen any evidence to that effect. They keep having him on, but like Obama hates the country so much that he's going to bring Ebola here to make us suffer and make us like lesser countries.
Yeah.
But can anyone really believe that?
Normally, I would say yes, he stands out.
30% of the American public can believe that. Based on everything we've read about the American public, 30% believes that.
Insert name of something that scares white people is coming across the border.
It's also, it's also because he doesn't understand it and what the big issues are. You have to combat Ebola in Africa. You have to send resources there to do it, because once it gets out, like, okay, you had the guy in Texas who in Dallas turned out not to have it. Thank goodness, the cop. But let's say 5 or 6 people got it, and someone got on a plane here or something else. It's not just about not letting it in the United States. It'll happen everywhere unless you stop it in Africa.
So the reason why I'm saying that is because we've sent all those troops there to help with the infrastructure so that it doesn't spread. Because if it does spread to, let's say, Spain, where it has a little bit, right, and then next thing you know, UK, next thing you know, everywhere, well, then you can't stop all the flights from all the countries in the world. You go to the source and you try to help. But instead, guys like Louis Gohmert said he sent the troops to go get Ebola and bring it back here, right? But these guys are lunatics. They believe in insane stuff like this.
They'd also understand that, an advanced country like Nigeria was able to stop Ebola from spreading. I mean, it can be done if you have the resources, but a country like, Liberia or Sierra Leone that's gone through decades of civil war and upheaval, they just don't have what it takes to stop it.
Now, normally I would say he does seem like a crazy person, but as you said, Louis Gohmert, who's not just a pundit, he's not just some radio conservative, he's an elected official. He said we sent troops to go there to die. Rush Limbaugh also saying that Obama seems to think that we deserve to suffer for this because of white guilt over slavery from our past. Like, he is not alone in this. I mean, they will stop at nothing to basically denigrate the president at this point.
But they've been saying this his entire administration. Every issue it is he's trying to make America weaker. He's trying to weaken America. He's trying to, get back at America because his dad was black. It's racism, and it's people who don't quite understand the way the world works.
Yeah, and it plays on their deepest fears. I mean, they're, particularly, Southern voters, Texas, they're so terrified of anything, any foreign entity, whether it's a virus or an individual or a group, coming across the borders. It's such a reactionary policy to anything. They even believe these the Guatemalan kids are carrying Ebola across the border, rather than fleeing from the social circumstances that they are.
Yeah, but so this is an interesting phenomenon that, approximately 30% of the country has lost its mind, right? Maybe they never had the mind in the first place to lose.
No, they never had. I think it used to be like 60% of us had lost our mind, and then 30% of us were like, oh, now I understand things. And you still have that hardcore.
But look at this weird imbalance. So, we have a lot of issues with Democrats on this show. Weak, feckless, purposely so oftentimes because they take the same amount of money from donors as the Republicans do, so they're paid to lose. All that stuff, right? But there's not a 30% of the country that is insane liberal with conspiracy theories about
You got like 6%.
Yeah, I agree.
About
There's probably
6.
is the 6% who think
Drum circles.
Bush assassinated,
Tinfoil hats.
every person who's ever lived, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But that is not a real contingent of the Democratic Party. I mean, that's non-existent in the Democratic Party. It's not a real contingent among liberal or progressive pundits. For the Republicans, it's nearly the mainstream, as you point out. I mean, Rush Limbaugh, you got elected congressman, you got this guy on Fox News, and they put out this insane conspiracy theories, and people eat it up. Oh yeah. Obama brought us Ebola. Laura Ingraham said the same thing. Obama brought Ebola into the country, right? So cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? And we're having a conversation and a so-called real debate with these lunatics.
Well, conspiracy theories, work so well in a populace where, people are unable to discern between they conflate opinion from fact, number one, and also conspiracy theories give stupid people a simple understanding of why bad things happen in the world.
Yeah.
So without having to understand nuance and complex foreign policy issues or geopolitical issues or history, Islam is all bad, for example, and that's the root of why everything bad is happening in the world. So, and it can be applied to any
It's not just
policy.
American, though. It's worldwide. I mean, if you look at all the problems that went through the Balkans in the 90s and going through the world today in a lot of places, I've got a good friend who's a Serb. He goes, the problem was it's the people in the village. And and it is. It's the village people. We're like, we must get those guys who are gay and do this and try and destroy us. And that's how they think. Because they can't see outside the village. And it's our own version of the village people here.
Specifically, the 30% who are willing to believe these conspiracy theories about Ebola is, I think that we're just naturally reaping what Fox has sown since it started, in that they've been telling people every day on every issue, don't trust colleges, it's better to be ignorant, and don't trust scientists. They're all together, they're just doing it for the money. And so they don't trust them on climate change, and now, I forget which Fox host it was. Oh, I think it was Hannity. Said he wouldn't even go to the CDC's, he wouldn't show footage from the CDC's hearing about Ebola, because he says he doesn't trust them. The CDC. He just fundamentally thinks that they're not trustworthy, so what is his audience going to take from that? They're not going to trust any health official now.
So I don't think it's a coincidence to tie all these points together. I don't think it's a coincidence that the same 30% of the country that believes in fundamentalist religion, easy answers, right, as CJ said, oh yeah, God, the guy up in the sky, he controls everything, there's nothing I can do about it, is the same 30% who believes in easy answers through conspiracy theories. So of course, Obama, a black man, wants to destroy the country for punishment for slavery. That's why he brought in Ebola and ISIS. Problem solved. Right?
That makes as much sense to their mind, though, as saying there's a supreme, all-powerful being who's given me this amazing sex drive, but he's going to kill me and punish me forever for actually listening to it. It's the same type of thinking because it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't require logic.